Hey everyone, welcome to Aging Well in KC, because in Kansas City, we want to change the narrative on aging. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Brian, and together we own and operate Seniors Helping Seniors KC North.
And I'm JC, owner of Seniors Helping Seniors Kansas City Metro South. Together, we want to have conversations about all aspects of aging and helping Kansas City age well.
So in our last episode, we really talked about who we are and what we're all about, what our goal is, who Seniors Helping Seniors is. But today, I want to go a little bit deeper, you guys. I want to talk about the heart of what we do. And I really think that starts with getting to know about our caregivers and the whole process about that. Because, you know, when people invite us into their home, the first question is what? Who are you going to send to be my caregiver? And what does that look like? And that is probably the most stressful part, I think. A little insight on how we find these amazing, incredible caregivers. And so today we asked our care coordinator who works with us here in KC North, Rachel, to join us today because this is her job. This is what she does. She goes out and she finds these amazing people. So Rachel, tell them a little bit more about your job and what you do for us.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm
Absolutely.
to be here today. I have a very unique role with the company because I get to really spend a lot of time with the caregivers, with the applicants, and find out why they're applying for this position and why they want to do this. And then I also have the honor of going out and meeting the clients. So then I'm able to come back and really put the two together and make that match.
Awesome. That's amazing.
So Rachel, when you were mentioning your looking for certain qualities in a caregiver when you either first meet them or when you get a chance to finally they go through the process, you get to meet them in person. What are those qualities? What makes someone a caregiver for Seniors Helping Seniors?
Yeah, great question. I have found the more I am in this role, I usually know very quickly who's in it for the right reasons. And that's really what it comes down to, is just looking for people who have that heart of servitude and really want to do this. They're not looking for a job. They're looking for something meaningful, something to fill their time. And so it really just comes down to the stories that they share with me in their interviews and their reasons why, and just having a peek into their heart and why they're really wanting to do this.
Do you have any examples of like a story that stands out? You're like, they're right for us.
Yeah.
That's the right one.
The ones who shared the stories really without me asking, like they will say like, I cared for my mom with dementia, 20 years ago. And I've always had this nagging feeling like I'm missing something. I could still be doing this for another family. And so it's really those stories that tug at my heart. And I was like, you're amazing. Like, we need you. There's some really, really good people, amazing people here in Kansas City. And it's a process in finding them, but they're out there, and I'm not going to quit until we have all of them on our team.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah. That's awesome. It really is. It is a heart thing, I mean, JC, isn't that for you guys out there? You're looking for that heart.
Oh, absolutely. And you can really identify that when you sit down and you just have that initial conversation, right? But, we talked about in episode 1 of, do-gooders, right? And it's the people that are really looking back and giving back to the community.
Yeah, they're absolutely called to do this, and that's what makes it so amazing. So once somebody shows some potential, Rachel, what is that process? How do you know that they're just really going to fit right with what we're doing?
There is a process because we really have to find out that their words and their actions match.
It's really important.
It is very important. Someone can sit in an interview and say all the right things, but are they going to show up? Are they going to really care for that client? And so we get to know them in an interview. We have a very thorough step-by-step process in the interview, but then we also bring them into our office and we go through a very thorough orientation with them, and we really get to know them. And that really helps us just know, your words are going to match your actions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So is there anything else that we can tell our listeners that we do for them? Yes, we have them do an application, we do orientation interview. What else do we do to really know who they are? And all of that is out on the table.
We do a very thorough background check. We do national, state, and city level background check.
Okay.
We also do a very thorough training with them in an orientation that we have in our office and teach them the applications that they're going to be using and really set them up for success.
Awesome. Yep, absolutely. That's such a vital part of this whole process. JC, I know that you are on the other side of the state line, and I know sometimes with Kansas and Missouri, we do things differently. So how is this process different in Kansas for you?
Yeah. So in home care, there are certain states that require a license, and there are other states that don't require a license. In Kansas, we are licensed by the KDHE, which is the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, as a home health agency, non-skilled, non-medical. And so as part of our licensing, there's a very thorough process that we go through, just like you guys are talking about from the process perspective. But we actually run our caregivers through 8 databases in terms of background checks. There's 2 reference checks that we have to validate. There is a health assessment that we have to have all of our caregivers go through by a nurse that we have on the team. And then the other piece is all of our caregivers have to have an up-to-date TB test. And so it's all part of the licensing component, but, making sure that we've got our T's crossed and our I's dotted. And, it's, I think, again, one of the things that, I hear you guys talking about is that you cross those T's and you dot those I's in the right way, right?
Absolutely.
It's just ours requires a few more steps.
Sure.
In it.
Absolutely. So, Brian, what do you think about our vetting process?
Well, I'm a little one-sided here, but I think Rachel does a phenomenal job at being a care coordinator, and I know that because the caregivers we have are just amazing, and they have a heart of service, and they're in it for the right reasons, and they keep orientation after orientation. We keep seeing those individuals come through. So I can't speak highly enough about her and what she does, first of all. But I think Rachel nailed it on the head. I think identifying people that have that heart of service, those individuals that they do this more than because they need a job, right? I mean, from our perspective, it's so much more meaningful when they don't do this because they need a job. They do this because they want to,
right.
And they do this because they're there to serve other people, because that's why we're here.
Yes.
So,
and they understand all the things that we want them to go through. We need to meet them several times, and we have to have all these checks done because they get it. They get it. They also would want that for their family too. So
yeah, of course. I mean, it's the right thing to do, first of all, and second of all, it's something that everyone should do, because we're introducing someone to your home, right? And introducing someone to your home, we need to make sure that they're vetted and they're safe, first and foremost. That just goes without saying. And that's part of our process, JC. I know that's part of your process as well, because that's the right thing to do, and what we should all be doing. But it's more than that. I think there's a little extra something when it comes to a seniors helping seniors caregiver, and that's really what makes our business different. That's what makes us different from everybody else. And in my humble opinion, is the individuals that are coming in your home. There's just something about them, and they have a heart of, and they just love giving care to other people.
Right. Yeah. And one of, I think the unique thing is, we talked about this on our first episode, is that we care about our caregivers just as much as our clients. We want to be that place for them, that they find purpose and they are heard and they're respected and just appreciated. And so Rachel, do you have, because I know you talk to them all the time, and do you kind of give us a little bit of a point of view from the caregiver? When they've gone through our whole process, they're jumping in, they're excited, they're going to go see a client. What is that for them? How does that feel for them on the other side?
Well, a lot of them are actually nervous because they want to get this right. And so we all kind of get nervous when we meet someone new for the first time. And so, I hear stories, they call me afterwards and they're like, Rachel, I said a little prayer on my way to meeting that client, or they asked me a bunch of different questions. So that very first visit, they're going to really just sit and get to know each other, because that's what this is all about. We want them to feel comfortable and become friends. And that's the best thing that I hear after the fact, is when I get that phone call that, Rachel, I've just met my new best friend. Yeah. And so if they go in, rather than going in and get started in all the cleaning and the laundry, they really just sit and get to know each other. And then they're both comfortable on both sides of the coin, and being able to, because we all are more confident and comfortable with what we're doing when we know who's going to be there with us. So
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, they're going into someone else's home, and that can be awkward, right? It's a whole new experience, and
I mean, I know it is when we're going to meet them for an assessment.
Yeah,
we're going in for the first time to meet a family and a client, and I think in a way we're a little nervous too because we want to make a good impression. We want to hit it off with them, so they feel the same thing.
of course, absolutely, and leading. You touched on something that's so important is leading with companionship. That companionship piece is so important because it really sets the tone for the care. The relationship itself and the success of, I think, the success of that care long term as well. So,
Can you talk a little bit about how our peer-to-peer relationship works? Because that really is what makes us different because we're bringing in somebody who is an equal to our client. So why is that working so well?
it's so important. And I think that's what reassures the client the most before you and I leave that assessment is we promise them you're going to have the same person show up as much as possible, time and time again. And that relief that kind of comes over them, like, wow, that's amazing. And then they really do just become each other's person. They become each other's friend, like family. I hear that time and time again. Like, I've just met my new best friend. Do not take my best friend from me now. So, just knowing who's going to be showing up, and then you can kind of just continue those conversations. Like, hey, I know you had your grandson's birthday party over the weekend. How was that? And that just really sets the tone, and just they're able to continue that relationship from shift to shift. So, yep.
I've got a kind of off the wall question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
You could do anything. Why do you do this?
God placed this position. He placed you in my life at the exact time. And you guys know this. I was very honest in the interview, and God had my back the whole time. And then you took a leap of faith and brought me on, and it's been the best thing for me, for my family. And I thank you guys, and I thank God every single day. And the reason I continue to show up is because of the lives we're changing every single day. My background is in education, and I loved teaching school and had great stories with that. But just the stories, good and bad stories that we hear every single day, there's nothing like it. And I will continue to come back every single day and show up because of the lives we're touching. And I'm blessed to do this with you. And I thank you every single day because it's amazing. And this is really just the beginning. And one other thing too is I'm just proud to share what I do to friends and family now. And they're like, that's just amazing. Like, keep doing what you're doing. So
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
You're fine.
No,
we love
I
having you.
I would echo the same thing. I mean, you say you share with friends and family what it is that you're doing, and I have that same feeling. Right? Is that wow? I mean, wow, that's really cool. And it's the home care component, but then it's also the fact is you hire seniors to care for seniors. That's really, really neat. And so, we're talking about, as you're matching caregivers with clients and kind of understanding the clients. Tell us a little bit more about like what it is and how do you do such a good job of getting to know your caregivers and making sure that match is going to be what you think the match is going to be.
Right. And I will start by saying I don't always get it right. And every time I don't get it right, it's a big learning lesson for me. And I take that to be able to make sure I get that next match right. But we really take the personality into account. Some of our clients want a caregiver who's going to come in and talk to them and chat and share stories. Some of our clients do not. They have maybe been in a career such as like a librarian, and they're used to just the calm, quiet, and they don't want that chatty Kathy coming in. And so we really take that into consideration. We take into consideration the skills that are needed for that client and what the caregiver is going to be able to provide. As silly as this sounds, we also take into consideration they may be a huge Denver Bronco fan, and we're not going to send in a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan because
I hear that.
It's a very, and we it wouldn't come down just to that, but we joke about that, like baseball fans. We're all big baseball fans and football fans in this
Yeah.
community. And so
Yeah.
just even those smallest pieces of thread, most people are going to have something in common with each other. And
Right.
so we just start small and work up from there.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you bring up an important point, is the majority of times you get it right. Right. And I would say the same thing for, Seniors Helping Seniors KC Metro South. The majority of times we get it right. But talk to our listeners about if you don't get it right, right? What are the steps that you take in really kind of, working through that situation?
Really just open communication, finding out from that client, like, what was it that didn't work, or what was it that worked that we maybe could add a little bit more to. So really just, and that kind of comes down to, it's communication for everything. We ask for communication from our clients. We ask for communication from our caregivers. So just really taking the information that we have, because we say all the time, like, we don't know what we don't know. And so just asking for them to keep that open communication and really working towards that and trying to do better.
Yeah, and I think at certain times there's coaching for our caregivers that can happen, right?
100%.
But in the situation, if it were a Chiefs and a Broncos fan, and it's just not that right match,
Yep.
one of the advantages that folks have in going through an agency as opposed to hiring just a private caregiver is that we're going to handle that, right,
Yep.
in regards to making that switch and finding that right match.
Yep.
And that's a discreet call back to the office and saying, you know what, it just doesn't feel like this is the right match.
Right.
And I hear you saying is that's a really small percentage of the time that it happens, but it is a question that we get from our clients is, if it does happen, what do you do? What are the steps that you take?
Well, and it's just that we're not just going to say, oh, deal with it, right? We're not going to say that. We're going to listen to what is important to them, because we've just gotten to know them as well. And we are just learning who they are and what their interests are. And so just let us know if this is off, or, oh, I forgot to tell you I'm a Bronco fan and I don't like the Chiefs. That's kind of critical if I send in a caregiver who's head to toe Chiefs, right? So we always just want to hear that feedback. And I think as once we tell them that they have that ability to veto the caregiver, if it's just not working well. And it's, I know in our situation, the next little tweak we make, it works. It works because we just needed that little bit of information, a little bit more, and then that match is amazing. I mean, we have a caregiver call back and she goes, oh my gosh, we grew up in the same area. We had we did this together at the same time, my high school was doing this, their high school was doing that. Like, they have so many common points of their life and threads, as we call them. It's just so cool when that match really works out. So that's awesome.
I bet you have just a ton of stories about matches, right? And you kind of talked about, some examples. Do you have a specific story that just kind of comes to the top about a caregiver and a client?
Yeah, I actually have a couple, but like you said, there's so many. One of my most recent ones was this gal. She had just moved back to the area, so pretty brand new to this area. Her kids are grown. She didn't know a lot of people here. And so she reached out because she was just kind of looking for that purpose. Like, I'm in it, my kids are grown, how do I fill my days? And she was very nervous about meeting her first client because she had to drive to a little bit of a new area. And she walked in and the lady that she was caring for looked just like her grandma. And she calls me immediately after and she's like, Rachel, you just matched me with my grandma. And so she's like, I'm in this, like, let's do this thing. So those are the heartfelt ones there. We have lots of stories like that. We also have just some really feel good ones where I remember a client called one time to get permission. She was matched, or a caregiver called to get permission. She was matched with her client, had gotten to know him after a few times. And she goes, can I take my dad over to meet him? Because they will just love each other. And they both show up wearing their overalls. They had been farmers and they just sat there eating their pimento cheese sandwiches and just shared stories. And she's like, I get to do this. I get to experience this every day. I have a new friend for my dad. and purpose for me. So, we could just go on all day. There's so many really good feel-good stories.
Yeah, and how happy that makes your heart, right?
Yeah,
At the end of the
very
day.
much. Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
I mean, we had a caregiver call. Actually, no, she came to the office and she just said, I didn't really have a purpose before I started doing this. I'd been retired. I don't have a lot going on anymore. And this gives me a reason to get out of bed. Mm-hmm. And when someone says that to you, it just makes it all hit on a whole new level. When this is a job that literally gives them purpose and a reason to get out of bed, and they feel needed and valued and so important for someone else, that's the good stuff. That's what makes me get up and keep doing this every single day. I love those stories so much.
Yeah, for sure. So part of Casey North, we always talk about remember your why. Mm-hmm. Remember your why every day. Why do you do this? Why do you consistently show up and do this? And for all of us, and JC, I'm sure you as well, our whys are different, but from a caregiver perspective, I know, Rachel, you're looking for those whys, I guess, as well, right? Mm-hmm. So no matter how small or whatever that looks like, just having that connection, that connective tissue, I guess I'm trying to say, right? That leads you to believe that they'll be a good caregiver. I know that's something you look for too, yeah.
And what's cool is some of them come to me knowing their why, and some of them don't quite know why this opportunity landed in their lap. We've had some where their daughter applied for them, and the caregiver herself was kind of not sure, but daughter was like, "Mom, you need to find something to fill your days." And then now she knows her why. Her why is her people. Her why is that companionship she gets to provide. And she just told me recently, she's like, "This is the best job I ever had." So sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to find our whys, but there's reason behind every story. So
love that. Yeah. Love that.
So Rachel, what would be one thing that you wish people would understand about caregiving and why they do this every day?
One thing I wish people knew is there's going to be really hard days, and that's okay. But that's what's going to make the good days worth it. Like just showing up. I also want them to know is that even if it's the smallest, tiniest little thing that you feel like you're doing, it's huge in someone else's life. They're able to stay safely in their home. And it's also giving peace of mind to their family members so that they can go and they can provide for their family. So I have caregivers call me and it's like, "Rachel, I tried so hard to get my client to do this and it just didn't quite work." And I said, "But you were there. You showed up. You still paid attention to them. And that is enough." And so I just it's going to be hard. There's going to be hard days, but that's what makes it worth it. Just being able to come back and hear those stories.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. So as we wrap up, I'd love for all us to go around and say, what is one quality every true great caregiver has? So if you had to pick out one quality that every true great caregiver has, what would that look like? What would that quality be?
I'm going to say they're reliable. They show up even on those really hard days, or even when yesterday did not go the way it was supposed to go. I'm coming back tomorrow because I care and I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to be your person.
I'm going to say having that heart of servitude and just wanting to do this because it's the right thing to do.
JC?
There's a lot of different
There's a lot.
things there. There's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I think from a reliability, it's so important. Mm-hmm. In our team, we have folks that have been in this industry for a while, and, you get into weather situations we've had, right? And
It's the Midwest. It's Missouri.
It's the Midwest, or it's
in Kansas. Or it's Kansas. I bet your weather's just
We
as...
do service both sides, both Missouri and Kansas. But, it's the reliability piece is very important. But the point I was going to try to make is that, part of our team, they've worked for other home care agencies.
Sure.
And our model, because we do focus on hiring a more senior caregiver, is that reliability factor. We had caregivers whose husbands were driving them to their clients, right? To make sure that they were getting there safe and the clients were being cared for. I think the other piece, because you asked and said reliability, right, is I think it's communication. Mm-hmm. Communication is very important, right? And communication is both what you're saying, but also what you're hearing, mm-hmm. right? And so, what our caregivers are hearing and how they're able to react and respond, I think is so important in building a relationship, right? Absolutely. It's understanding our clients' needs. Yeah. And so I would say those two things. That's okay if I went with two.
Yes.
All right.
You get extra credit for that one.
Extra credit.
All right.
Brian,
I like that.
Brian, what about you?
Credit. I mean, everyone had great answers. I mean, all those answers are 100%. If I had to say something other than what you guys said, I would say one of the differentiators, I think, is what we talked about, their why. So what makes them unique to want to do this? Because this is a calling, in my opinion. This is something that you're either called to do or you're not. And I know that's kind of not as easy of an answer as you gave, but as everyone else's. But at the end of the day, it's just that calling, that differentiator to me is really what makes them different as well. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I think we gave our listeners some really good information. This is the huge part. This is the part about what we do is bringing in these people into their home.
This is the biggest part of what
it's the biggest part. And who that is matters. And we can all look different and we can all do things a little differently, but having that heart and why they're doing it and showing up, and that's awesome.
And continue to show up even on those hard days, when the days like you've all mentioned, no 2 days are the same. And one constant, as we've said before, one constant in a senior's life is change. So if we can be that constant that's not change, that constant for them that continues to show up, rain, snow, shine, whatever it looks like, right? Continues to show up week in and week out for them, and have empathy, not sympathy, but empathy, and walk alongside life with them. Then I think that's the good stuff. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, so now here's the fun part of our show, guys. I didn't get a lot of participation from the boys in the way I thought last time. I thought they were going to be a lot funnier, but they weren't. They were like more heartfelt and tearjerkers. But in our show, we want to do you work with seniors when, right? Because we work with such an awesome group of people and interact with them. So when you work with a senior when, Brian, how are you going to finish that sentence?
So I'm going to go back to the late, great Don Doe, my father-in-law who passed away in 2020, but this makes me think of him. You're working with seniors when you hear the same story over several times. Most amazing man on planet Earth, but he was notorious for telling the same story. And then next time you were in that situation, telling you that same story again. So.
But it got better.
It did.
Every time.
And it got
you
a little shorter.
Something a little
got a little
different.
shorter too, but
yeah. Rachel? You work with seniors when?
Yeah, I know I work with seniors when you cannot leave their home without them feeding you a meal. Mm-hmm. Seniors want
please take a
you
cookie,
to eat.
Bottle of water,
yep,
cup of coffee.
Yep,
so sweet.
They want to provide.
Yep. JC, what do you got?
You work with seniors when they always, and I'm not saying this, I think this, but they always think I'm somebody on the news. There's always a news personality that they are comparing me to.
I can see that actually.
So
you got the side part going on,
and so very keen on the news, right?
Yes.
And watching the
They've
news.
Seen you.
So, but it's not me. But maybe a lookalike.
Yeah. I know I'm with the senior when they're so worried about me. Like, do you have your coat? Do you have your snow boots on? Do you need to go get lunch? It's past lunch. They're just so worried about you. And I love that. But I think that's just their nature, their generation. They're just they're caring. They want to take care of you. They want to make sure you're okay before themselves.
The matriarchs are patriarchs of their family. They've been taking care of everybody, right?
Yeah.
So,
yep.
And that care extends down to, luckily to us too, because we're in their home even for a brief time, or our caregiver's in there for a lot of time. But the beauty is that we get to be part of it too. So, yeah.
So thank you, Rachel. Thank you for coming on our show today to talk about the part of in-home care that is vital and very, very important. So thank you for what you do. And I know JC has an amazing team out in the South where they're doing the same thing as well, looking for those people who really care about this and this matters, and they take this job to heart just as important as us finding a caregiver who does the same thing. So,
100%.
So you know what? Let's just wrap this up. So, aging well doesn't happen by accident, you guys. It happens when families communicate and the right support comes together. So that's the conversation that we're committed to having here in Kansas City. So thanks for joining us on Aging Well in KC. To learn more, to connect with us, to reach out, go to seniorshelpingseniors.com. Until next time, keep aging well, Kansas City.